We're going to go ahead and get started. So if you see anyone outside that may want to come in, if you could just let them know, we're going to get started. Thank you, Rod. I see my friend Rodney going to get the people. You see what I'm saying? All right. Good afternoon, everyone. All right, I'm gonna need some energy. I know y'all were in church, but I'm gonna need some energy. Woo! I know y'all ate at the Welcome Center, but I need y'all to have, because, all right, because I was just in children's ministry, so I really need y'all's energy. All right, so welcome to Mental Health 101, what it is and what it is not. All right, so thank you. That's my boy. Yeah, that's Rodney. So my name is, in the streets, I'm called Dr. Paula Anderson. Here, I'm just Paula, but Dr. Paula Anderson, and this is Carissa Oyabanjo. And we're going to go to the next slide. I'm going to have Carissa introduce herself. I feel like I'm just talking. That's okay.
Sorry. So I'm Carissa Oyabanjo. It's wonderful to see everyone. Thank you so much for coming out. I'm a licensed therapist, so I treat adults with mental health concerns in my private practice. I have a solo private practice. I've been married to my awesome husband, Lanray, who's sitting up here in the front, right there, for 25 years, which is amazing. It's funny. We got married. Thank God Rodney and Patricia remember us from back then. So we got married really young. As I'm about to have a 20-year-old, he's 19. I'm like, wow, that's close, like to when I got married. But anyway, so yes, so it's a good thing. And Paula and I also have a nonprofit together as well with Dr. Grady. And so we're just happy to be here. It's so wonderful to see so many of you guys here. Thank you.
Yes, love the energy. And again, I am Dr. Paula Anderson. I am a licensed therapist in the state of Maryland and an organizational psychologist. So back in the pandemic, I decided that I was bored, so I would just go ahead and get my PhD. So here we are. And so I own a practice called PACE Consulting. We do behavioral health counseling and organizational development consulting. I've had the practice for about 18 years. I've been married as of last weekend for 28 years. I don't know where my husband is. He's roaming around somewhere. But to Dijon Anderson, the bass man, the one that does like all the things on the side, he's mine. So we're just happy to be here. We thank Sharon and the leadership for seeing the importance of mental health, mental wellness, mental illness. And we'll talk about the differences there, and just seeing the importance of bringing it to the church body. I know there's so much stigma in our community, and there's a lot of stigma even in church. And so we want to destigmatize that and really make it a normal conversation here at DC Regional. So I really just thank Sharon, because she's the brain. Sharon has all these ideas and she starts tapping people. Right, Laura? Laura knows. That's her sister. She'd be like, oh, I have this idea. And then you're like, oh, okay. But yeah, we are happy to be here. So some of our presentation objectives today, and you guys can see the screens. Thank you, Rodney. Shout out to Rodney in the back. And Eugene, where's Eugene? For just helping us get together. But our presentation objectives are, we're going to define what mental health is. And we know that there's many of you, some people in here are experts. So we see Lisa, Dr. Lisa and Opal, experts, right? They're experts. So to them, this is going to be like, okay, we already heard this. But then some of you are going to be like, wow, I didn't know that information. So please bear with us if you know all the things already. Identify core conditions, anxiety, depression, trauma, and stress. Differentiate between everyday stress and mental health concerns. Understand faith and mental health. Explore biblical perspectives. Recognize when and how to seek help. And we're going to do a learning application exercise, so get ready. And then we're going to have some Q&A and reflection. So we're going to try to go through it so we get through everything, but if we don't, just bear with us, okay? All right, so ground rules. So before we get started, we need everyone to practice active listening. Who knows what active listening is? Woo, I see hands. Go ahead, in the back. Go ahead with the glasses. I love it. That would be my response too. She was like, you didn't say it. Yes, just listen. No, you don't have to answer. Just listen actively to the people, because you're going to be working in a group in a second. And so listen to your colleagues, the people with you, but also try listening to us as well. And with active listening, we would just ask is not here, but we could limit your distractions, because we know the phone is like here, it's attached to our hip. But if we can try to limit it, if there's an emergency, please step out and take care of what you have to take care of. Confidentiality, sometimes when we do workshops like this, people tend to talk, and we love talking and sharing, but if someone shares something vulnerable in here, please don't go out to whoever's not in here and share that. Respect others, same vein. Safe space, we want to make this a safe space for everyone in here. And then voluntary sharing. So like I said, some people may volunteer to share, and some people may just be quiet, and either one is okay. Okay? All right, so can you guys see that QR code on the screen? Can you take your phones, and if you should see it with all the monitors around here. So if you guys can go in, so this is a poll, and we're gonna say it's a poll on just hearing, when you hear the term mental health, what comes to mind at first? And so I would love for you guys to just indulge us and take this poll. If you can't see the QR code, you can also join by text, and you could send to Paula Anderso 862-2233. So let me know if you can see can you get it? I see people. You got it? Okay. So if you can start taking that poll, and just bear with me for a second because I need to present it. Hold on. We can see it. You can see that? Yeah. Oh, they can see it. We can see it. So I see that you guys are indulging us and engaging in our poll. So thank you for that. I know, I'm trying to, yeah, it won't let me, like on my screen, we can see it, but I know you guys can't see it. But I'll tell you, I'll promise, I'll tell you the truth. Let's see if I can. Yeah, it's a touch screen, but it's not like, like for us, we can see it back here, but it's not doing it on here. We'll report out. But I'm just happy that it's showing already, because sometimes I'm in situations where it doesn't even show. So this is miraculous. Yeah. All right. Did everybody get a chance to answer? You just had to answer A, B, C, D, or E. All right. So what you guys can see on the screen is 11% said. So, okay, here, let me say the question. When you hear the term mental health, what comes to mind? A, mental illness or disorders. 11% of you answered A. 11% at emotional well-being and coping skills. C, 22% said stress management and self-care. D, you can't see D, but on my screen it's showing no one answered D. And then E, D was brain health and functioning. And then E was all of the above. It looks like 76% of the room got it right. Woohoo! Now 75, someone changed their mind. But it is E, all of the above. So thank you for that. All right, let's see. Hold on. All right, so thank you so much for taking that poll with us. So why are we having this conversation? Yes, Sharon was she's the brainchild behind this. But why are we really having this conversation? I know you see the stats, but I would love to just poll the room, like real time. Like if you raise your hand, you do have to answer. I'm just messing with you. But yeah, why are we having this conversation? I would love like maybe one or two people to share. So I see hand in hand. Go ahead. Oh, do we have? We have like an Oprah situation here, so we got mics and stuff, Romaine.
Just because in today's society, this is our reality that we're living. You know, our children, you know, some of us, you know, it's a big stigma today.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks so much.
Oh, right here. You don't have to. You don't have to stand.
I was going to say more or less the same thing. I do also think that it's gotten a bigger awareness in the press, and we're seeing a lot of reports about people suffering with mental health, and it's becoming a kind of hip thing to be mentioning.
Okay. You can take one more. Yeah, I see Tony.
Yeah.
Oh.
I truly believe most people doesn't understand what mental health actually is.
Mm-hmm.
They're quick to say, I'm fine, and maybe you're not.
Mm.
Right? I can deal with this, and maybe you can't. So.
Yeah. No, thanks. Thank you. We'll take this last one. Thanks, Ed.
I think many people focus on the physical well-being and miss out on the mental aspect. You see a lot of things on exercise and things of that nature, but they don't spend as much time on the mental aspect of their well-being, and this I think is very much needed. I think it's more than 50%. It seems like to me, but.
Yeah. So everyone, you're all correct, right? So the mental health concerns, it's growing, right? It's and I'm going to keep turning to Dr. Lisa and Opal just to confirm some of the things we're saying, but like I know like since COVID, trust us, we've been in business for over 20 years, right? So mental health has been it's been a thing forever, right? But I would just say ever since COVID for me, like my practice, like we have wait lists. Like we didn't have waiting lists before. Now we have waiting lists, and I would same for you all, right? And then now I call it, and this is just me, and I don't know if it's being recorded, but I could say that we're in the second pandemic because of what's going on in our society. I don't want to talk too much about it, but it's really another pandemic that we're going through. So we literally just got out of one, and now we're being hit with another one, right? And so it's definitely prevalent. And so as you can see the stats on the screen, nearly 50% of Americans will meet the criteria for a mental health condition at some point in their lives. And this is from the Centers for Disease Control in 2023, 50%. So I know I did this when I did my announcement before, but like every other person in this row, in your row, just think about that, right? And then mental illness is a leading cause of disability worldwide. So not only in the United States, it's worldwide, y'all. It's just not just in these, these 50 states. It's everywhere. And the leading cause is depression. So I just want us to take note that this is not something that just a few of us are experiencing, or just, people in the DC area because of the politics. It's literally everywhere, and it's affecting everybody. And I just, again, and now you're in the room, Sharon, I've been shouting you out the whole time. But thank you for really bringing this to our congregation, because it's such an important topic, and we really need to destigmatize the topic. So thank you. So what is it? What is mental health, right? And so there's a definition here, and so you can read it, but I'll read it as well. It is a state of well-being in which every individual realizes their own potential, can cope with the everyday stresses of life, can work productively, and can contribute to their community. It includes emotional well-being, understanding and managing feelings such as stress, sadness, joy, or anger, psychological functioning, which is maintaining resilience, healthy thinking patterns, and adaptive coping skills, and social well-being, building healthy relationships, effective communication, and sense of belonging, right? So that's mental health. And we use mental health and mental illness interchangeably. So I'll talk about this. I want to show this slide. So mental health is not equal to mental illness. So, that's right. So I heard a So everyone has mental health. Everyone does. Like you start out, you come into this world, you healthy, right? And things happen along the way that can affect that. But just as everyone has physical health, everyone has mental health. Mental illness, though, refers to a diagnosed condition that can affect thoughts, mood, or behavior. And usually, how I like to explain is like when it affects your activities of daily living. Like, if you normally would be able to get up, and now you're like, oh, I can't get up. I'm not getting enough sleep, and it starts to affect just things that are normal to you, and it starts to become abnormal, right? So think of it like that. Think of it like when you're ill. You know when you're physically ill, right? So mental illness is it's kind of the same thing, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, but I just wanted to let you know that there is a distinction. So usually when I talk and I tell people, also because people are familiar with the term mental health, so I don't usually say mental illness because I think there's still stigma even around the word, the word mental illness, the phrase. So I'll say mental health concerns. That's how I'll say it, because then I think people accept it a little better, right? If I go around and be like, Twan, you got mental illness. Flo, you got a mental illness. Glamour, you got a mental. Sharon, people are like, wait, what? Oh, slow down, right? But if I say you have a mental health concern, people take it better, and that's just where we are. That's just where we are. So, all right, Carissa, take it away.
So now we are going to talk about anxiety, right? And oftentimes with anxiety, I want us to know that 100% of the time, every single human feels anxiety at some point in their lives, right? It's that feeling of worrying. It's our body's reaction to stress, our body's response to stress. Sometimes it's worrying about something that's going to happen. Or if you're like me, sometimes worrying about something that already happened, like, oh, did I say that right? And, did that go well? I had that meeting. Was it what I expected it to be? How is it going to be taken? And so we can have anxiety in every single way. It's just that when it becomes to interfering in our lives, our day-to-day lives, when it starts to interfere, that's when you want to take note of it. If you're noticing that, okay, most days I'm feeling anxious, right? Most days it's kind of affecting my ability to do what I want to do, then that's when your body and mind might be telling you that it's a time to learn a little bit more about it and to learn some things that you can do to control the anxiety. So I would like to ask you all a question, and so if I can have a couple of volunteers to answer the question, what are some natural situations in life that can make us feel anxious? What are some, if anyone knows? Okay, yes, you two right there, if you can do that.
If I could just take it.
Oops.
So for me, some of the things that make me feel anxious is work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a EMT firefighter, so like being on scene, sometimes it'll get crazy. You'll have people just staring from everywhere, and it can sometimes just like kind of make me freeze up a little bit.
Absolutely, that is a great example. Thank you for your service and what you're doing for us with the EMTs. Firefighter, you said? Yes. Okay, great. Yeah.
Tests.
Test. Yes, me too. Definitely.
Yes, correct.
Right.
Anybody else?
Speaking engagements.
That is me right here. Yes, thank you for sharing that, Cynthia. I've been laughing and telling everybody, I was like, I had to use all of my cognitive behavioral tools to prepare for public speaking, everyone. So that's good. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Thank you. And Ed.
Family, finances,
Absolutely. That's right.
education.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Those are good. And we'll take one more. Yes. Awesome. Good.
Trying something new.
Good one. Excellent. Thank you. Those are really good. Thank you so much for your answers. And every single one of those things can make us feel a bit anxious. And so now what we're going to talk about are some symptoms of anxiety, right? That there are emotional, behavioral, and physical symptoms that come with anxiety and any of the mental health concerns that we're going to talk about. And so some of the symptoms are excessive worrying, just where you feel worrying, nervous, like feeling on edge, feeling that things are just overwhelming. How many of us have felt that before? I'm sure, all of us have felt those feelings of anxiety. We might find that you have trouble concentrating and focusing, maybe feeling restless, like you just can't settle. You're just feeling like you're fidgeting and moving. You can have physical tension in your body. And as a therapist, one thing that I hear a lot is definitely the sleep disruption that can happen with anxiety. You have difficulty sleeping, but there's something about it waking you up around 3 a.m., 4 a.m. You wake up and you're like, why am I up? Like, what is going on? And then sometimes the things you're worried about just come flooding in right at that moment. For others, it may be as soon as they wake up, right? The alarm goes off, 6 a.m., boom, anxiety. It's like a light switch, right? And it can be very overwhelming for people in that situation. Some of the physical symptoms can be rapid heartbeat, like you feel your heart thudding in your chest. Stomach aches. You might find yourself running to the bathroom a little bit more than normal when you're having anxiety. Sometimes headaches, nausea, dizziness. Those can be some physical symptoms of anxiety that occur. Some of the behavioral symptoms may be avoiding people, places, and things that make you feel anxious. So if you know that you have to drive, you want to drive to Ocean City, and you're afraid of the Bay Bridge, right? You're afraid of the Bay Bridge, then you might actually drive an extra 2-3 hours to avoid a bridge because you're afraid of bridges, right? Or if you know you have to have a conversation with your boss, and it's like, I need to update my boss. It may be something simple, but you're avoiding it, sometimes making it worse, because of the anxiety. Over-checking things can be another symptom. So for instance, if you go to bed and you're like, did I turn off the stove? Did I lock the door? You're all cozy in bed and you have to go downstairs and check. Sometimes that can be a symptom of anxiety. And fidgeting and pacing is another symptom that can occur when it comes to anxiety. And now we're going to talk about some common anxiety conditions that can happen if you have anxiety and you're experiencing it pretty intensely. And that is, the first one is generalized anxiety disorder. And that is a disorder, it's a condition in which people feel anxiety about multiple things most days for a period of at least 6 months or more. And so that's something to keep in mind. Phobias, like we talked about the bridge, sometimes people can have an intense fear when it comes to certain objects or situations, and so that makes them avoid them. And another one is social anxiety, and that's where people feel intense anxiety in social situations. I know people, if they had to come to a party, right, the anxiety is very real, just having to meet people in that situation. Sometimes even coming to church can feel a little anxiety provoking as well when you have social anxiety disorder. So we wanted to give you just a couple of conditions that can come with anxiety. And then now we wanted to have you engage in a quick tool, right? If you look at the slide, you can see that there's square breathing. How many of us have heard of square breathing or box breathing? Excellent, that's good. I'm so glad that everybody's heard of it. It's a quick tool. I was using it on the drive to church, so it does work. I'm not joking. And so we haven't heard of it. Okay, sorry, honey, I should have shared it with you. I need to do some psychoeducation in my home. I'm sorry, honey. That's so true. And so what I'm going to do is tell you what to do, and then I'll walk you through it, right? So you'll take a deep breath over a count of 4. Then you'll hold your breath for 4 seconds. You're going to release it for 4 seconds, and then rest for 4. So now I'll walk you through it. So take a deep breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, and just rest for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is an excellent tool to help you in dealing with any stress, anxiety that you may be feeling. It reoxygenates your body. It helps to reduce the stress hormone cortisol that's pumping in your body. And so what I usually recommend is that people do 3 of those at a time. And then if you want to really practice, do those 3 times a day. So 3 deep breaths 3 times a day. And that'll help you in dealing with any anxiety and stress. And so now we're going to talk about depression. And I'm sure everybody has heard of depression. And it is something that people experience a deep and persistent feeling of sadness. There may be hopelessness and a loss of activities. And it really affects the way we think. It affects our emotions and definitely the way that we behave as well. And I wanted to share an example of someone who has depression and knows how to mask it very well. So I made this up. I'm not thinking of any particular person in this situation, but I made it up. Her name is Mary. And Mary is an incredible sister. She comes to church every Sunday. She looks great. Her clothes are together, her nails, everything looks amazing. She comes in, she's fellowshipping, she's talking to you, she's asking you, sis, how are you really doing? Bro, but what's really going on? She really knows how to get in there and get in there deep. You know, she goes home. So Mary, after showing up and being at church, she goes home and she notices that she just feels a level of emptiness inside, like just hollow and sad. She feels like a little bit worthless, like I didn't do anything good. I'm not helping people, just feeling down on herself. And then Mary goes to bed. She wakes up during the week and she finds that it's so hard to get out of bed, that sometimes like getting out of bed and just thinking about brushing her teeth or combing her hair is just so overwhelming to her. Mary doesn't talk to anybody from Sunday to Sunday, right? The only time that she talks to someone at Sunday, aside from the occasional work meeting or an email, that's about it. And then on Sunday morning, 10 a.m., she shows up to church and that bright smile is back on her face and she's fellowshipping and happy. You know, and I think, you know, if we're honest, we have some Marys and some Marks, you know, in our fellowship. And it's good for us to understand, you know, some of the symptoms that come with depression. So that's why we wanted to give you like an example of what it could look like in a day-to-day. And so some of the symptoms that come with depression is a persistent, overwhelming sense of sadness, and or it could also be a loss of interest or pleasure in things you used to enjoy. So for instance, if you used to love to go bowling and love to hang out with your friends and go to lunch, all of these things, and now you find no joy, no interest in doing them. Even if you force yourself to go, there's no pleasure that happens in those events anymore. That can be a symptom of depression as well. Feelings of guilt, worthlessness, helplessness, irritability. And I want to talk about irritability when it comes to depression. Sometimes that can be the primary emotion that you see is anger, irritability, frustration. Why are you so mad? You know, that could be it. But when you dig deeper down under the surface, it can often be that the person is feeling depressed. And that is typical in men. Oftentimes this primary symptom will show up as irritability, anger, and frustration, not all the time. And then digging under the surface, you can find that there's the sadness that's there. You might notice a change in your appetite. Maybe you're eating more, not feeling like you want to eat. A noticeable change in weight gain or weight loss can be a symptom. Trouble sleeping, low energy. And another one is just moving more slowly, talking more slowly. And I see this in my therapy sessions where someone, if they're going through a period of depression, sometimes their voice slows down and they're just talking and you don't hear much energy in their voice, you know, and that can be a sign of depression, not necessarily all the time, but it can be. And random physical body aches. Sometimes people don't know that that can be a symptom of depression too. You've been to the doctor, why is my back hurting and my legs just hurt for no reason? The doctor sends you for MRI, X-ray, all of these things, which Paula and I definitely recommend you go to the physical doctor first to rule out physical pain, but it could be a symptom of depression as well. And if social isolation is another one, where you might just withdraw from people, not hanging out, not spending time with people. And we're going to talk about this more later, but also thoughts of self-harm and then thoughts of suicide, where you want to hurt yourself. And I would encourage you, if you or if anyone you know are having those feelings, please get immediate help, right? Immediate. Call 988, which is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. Go to therapy, you know, and if you don't feel like you can keep yourself safe, it is definitely important to go to the emergency room. They have wonderful mental health professionals there that can help as well. And so I just wanted to share that. Some of the mental health or depression conditions that can occur are major depressive disorder, and that is where people have that persistent, overwhelming feeling of depression for a period of 2 weeks or more, most of the days, every day for that 2 weeks period. And seasonal affective disorder. Have you guys heard of seasonal affective disorder before? Yes, okay, that makes sense. That's where people feel a type of depression come upon them around the colder months, typically the colder months, fall and winter. And then postpartum depression as well. That is where people develop a form of depression after giving birth, women after giving birth. And so thank you for listening. I know depression is something that can be heavy, but it's important for us to know, recognize the symptoms so we can know what to do and point the people that we love in the direction of help when needed. Because we battle by ourselves too much. You know, we feel like, I can handle this, I can do this, but let's reach out when we need to. And so one quick tool that can help when it comes to depression is called a positive self-talk reset. And that is where you are recognizing any negative thoughts within your brain and within your mind, and you're going to replace them with a realistic and supportive thought. And so I'll give you an example of that. So you guys can please think about, and this is not a group activity, I'll just ask you in your mind to think about a thought that has been a negative thought that you've had this week. Okay? And I'll give an example. One is, I can't handle this. Whatever it is, I can't handle it. And so what I want you to do is just pause after you've identified that thought and replace it with a realistic, supportive thought. And that might be, this is hard, but I can take it, I can do it one step at a time. What's the one thing that's in my power that I can do today? And that's good that you do that because it moves us away from feeling helpless and hopeless. Because I've been there where I felt like, I don't know how am I supposed to do this, But then when you stop for a minute and you're like, okay, I can do this. This is hard. You acknowledge the feeling, and then you're able to kind of focus on what's within your control. And so that's a tool that you can use all week, okay? Just definitely take that with you. And now we're going to move on to trauma. And it's interesting because I'm sure that you've been hearing a lot about trauma. I feel like this is a buzzword, like where people are talking about trauma and healing and trauma bonding, right? Trauma-informed therapy. And so, we just wanted to touch bases on trauma. You could do a 3-day workshop on trauma alone, right? So we're just going to focus on this. As we're talking, we're not going to talk about anything particularly strict triggered. So there shouldn't be a trigger in this conversation, but I just wanted to share that. Trauma is the body's and mind's response to overwhelming and distressing experiences. It can affect our emotions, our thoughts, our behavior, and especially our physical health. We don't think that it's affecting our physical health, but it is affecting our physical health. Some examples of trauma may be any types of abuse, if you've been in a severe car accident, that could be a traumatic experience. If you've witnessed or been a part of any type of community violence. And so I'm just, a lot of people have gone through trauma. There's a lot of examples, but those are the ones that I just wanted to share for today. Some of the symptoms that people may experience after having trauma may be an intense feeling of fear, helplessness, and the word horror is correct. Like sometimes you've been through trauma and you feel horrified just from that. And people may experience flashbacks where that's where your mind takes you right back to the moment of the trauma and you're in it. It's like you could be sitting driving, and then you're just in the trauma. And that can be dangerous when you're driving. But nightmares is another thing that can happen. Difficulty concentrating, focusing. And the other thing is feeling numb. I don't know if you've ever heard anybody mention like just feeling numb inside, like I don't feel anything, right? And that can be a sense of detachment that people start to feel. The physical reactions may be easily startled. Like, for instance, Paula could walk up to me now and I didn't see her. And she's just like, hey. And I'm like, oh, and I just jump because it's scary, right? That could be where you get easily startled. And then some of the other things may be avoiding people, places, and situations that were traumatic. I know for me, when being by the side of a couple of loved ones that have passed away in the hospital, that was very traumatic for me. And I remember after that, anytime even just driving by a hospital, I felt so many of these symptoms, just driving by, like watching a hospital scene, and so with that, it did go away, thankfully, but that was my kind of symptom to a traumatic situation. And now we're going to talk about some of the common conditions, which are PTSD. I think probably everybody has heard of post-traumatic stress disorder, right? So that is a complex mental health concern in which people really intensely feel and relive the experiences of the trauma through nightmares, through flashbacks. Another one is acute stress disorder, which is where people have it's a short-term disorder where you have most of the symptoms that we just talked about. And something called prolonged grief disorder, which is a newer diagnosis where we found that people sometimes experience severe grief symptoms longer than one may expect, like over a year, and it's still debilitating and seriously interrupting your day-to-day life, your grief symptoms. And so those are some of the common symptoms or conditions. And now we're going to do a grounding tool that you can do. Has anyone ever heard of the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique? Yes, thank you, Lisa and Opal. I appreciate you so much. Yes, so that's good. This is an excellent tool that you can use after you've experienced a traumatic event, or even if you're dealing with anxiety, stress, depression, any of them, anything that's kind of taking you away from the present moment. And what this does is trauma takes us to the past. This brings us to the present moment and reminds us that we're safe. And so we're going to use all 5 of our senses in this. You can see on the slide there. So what I'm going to ask you to do, and I'll do the first one, name 5 things you can see. So right now, and you're doing this in your head. So I can see Lamray trying to fix the thing. I can see the windows. I can see the floor. I can see the TV screen and the computer. So those are 5 things I could see. I can see what are 4 things that you can touch, right? So right now you might, and I'm not going to walk you through it. I just want you in your head. 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. Okay, so that's something that you can use anytime that you're feeling on edge. This could be helpful. Thank you. No, good. That was perfect. Okay, and this is Paula.
Yeah, grounding techniques are really helpful. Yes, Ed. We'll think about it. We'll talk to Sharon. We'll talk to the chief officer and ask her. But usually, I'll be honest, I don't usually like sharing slides. So if you can take pictures, that would be great. We do have something that we want to leave with you all. But if you can take as many pictures as you want. So yeah, we'll just say it like that. Yeah. All right. So what is stress? Does anybody want to answer that one? Anybody know what it means? Anybody? I see in the back. I see all the way in the back. I mean, yes, it's on the screen.
I would say tension within your body.
Yes. Thank you, Earl. Yes. Yep. And I saw Sharon moving her mouth because she was reading my slide. So it is the body's natural response to physical, emotional, or mental demands or challenges, right? And who knew? Do you guys know that stress can be good? Yeah. And you know when it's good? Like when the car is coming across the street and going fast at 60 miles per hour and you need to move your body out of the way. That's when it's good. You have a deadline at work that you have to meet. It's also called eustress. The good stress is called eustress. The bad stress is called stress, right? And so it can come from daily responsibilities, significant life changes, or unexpected events. Unexpected events. I'm just going to leave that there. A small amount of stress can motivate us, but a prolonged stress can also cause chronic stress that can have a negative impact on our well-being. So some signs of stress are irritability, headaches, tension, disrupted sleep, or eating. And I don't know, have you guys been feeling headaches or tension or disrupted sleep lately? And yeah, we're all in, I'm not going to say it for everyone, but most of us are feeling some level of stress these days. And I want to walk you through the 3. So not only is there stress, y'all, but there's 3 types of stress. So there's acute, episodic, and chronic, right? And so I'll just give you the definition. So acute is the most common and short-term forms of stress, immediate reaction to a challenge, demand, or unexpected event. So you can think of an acute stress like, just driving down 495. That's acute. But if you drive it every day, then it can become episodic, right? Right? Feeling nervous, acute, like we just talked about, like public speaking, feeling nervous before giving a talk at church, or before giving a talk at work, or just, just coming up and giving talk, rushing to get your kids ready for school or for church. That can be acute stress, right? Or if you're running late, that can be considered acute stress. So episodic is when acute stress is suffered more frequently, okay? And so, like I said, if you're taking 495 every day, you may have episodic because it may be the traffic is a lot, right? It could also be a church volunteer who takes on too many responsibilities. And I'm keeping it to church because we're in church, right? It could be prepping for a test, right? We know a lot of people are, doing great things, and test prep is a lot. And I think the young lady said here, prepping for a test. And if you're doing that, if you're in school, if you're a student, there's a lot of episodic stress going on, right? Ongoing financial pressures. I think Ed said it earlier. So if you're in a state where like your finances are off and it's like a reoccurring thing, unfortunately, we know a lot of people in this area, and I keep having to bring it to present because a lot of people here have lost their jobs, and so now they're trying to figure out, how do I do this thing? Whereas last year they were golden, right? This year they're like, how am I going to make this work? I'm seeing a lot of home sales. There's a lot going on, y'all. So we really need to. And so what happens too with stress, it can be like almost contagious, right? So if you see your sister over here, she's stressed, or your brother over here, he's stressed, you can take that on too. So we really need to be mindful and like really trying to take care of ourselves and each other. So chronic stress is that long-term stress. This is the kind of stress where I'm like, yeah, you need to get some help, right? Because now it starts to affect your physical, your physical body, right? It can affect just like activities of daily living, like I said before, like the constant headaches. I've seen people get IBS over this, irritable bowel syndrome. I've seen people get ulcers. I've seen people have heart issues. I know one of our friends shared with us, basically she works in the federal government, and just all that's happening. And she said that, I don't think it was her coworker, but in another agency, someone literally had a stroke and died at their desk. Right? So this is the type of stress. So it's stress, right? Because they're under like, constant surveillance right now in the government. And so the lady literally died at her desk. So this is what I'm talking about. We're not making this up. And, sometimes I think people take stress like, oh, I'm just so stressed. You take it lightly, but it's not. If it's ongoing, it can be very dangerous. And so you think of even systemic, like discrimination, right? Systemic, discrimination, like you're always under the radar, under the people are always looking at you or talking about how somebody in your race, right? Gender, right? That could also be, you can suffer chronic stress even with that, with discrimination. So just things to think about. So based on these definitions, I want to ask, how many of you have felt stressed this week? And I want you to look around. Like, I don't want you to look at us. Look around. It's real. It is real. It is real. And it's not, it's not something that we should take lightly. And I'm not up here, we're not up here trying to scare people, but just make you aware that stress is real and is happening to people right next to us. And so here, I know this is a very wordy slide. I usually don't do this, but I really wanted to get it so you guys, if you want to take a picture of it, this is why I put it there. But just everyday stress, right? So you have short-term worry, and I'm just going to kind of read some of it. I'm not going to read the whole thing. So short-term worry, everyday stress about deadlines or responsibilities. That's everyday stress. That's normal, right? However, signs of mental health concerns, persistent sadness, emptiness, or hopelessness. And I know Carissa talked about that 2-week timeline. So therapists are using something called the DSM. Are we at 5 now, Lisa? No, okay. DSM-5, right? And so if it's if you're feeling this for a 2-week period, then you're going to get a diagnosis, right? Occasional trouble sleeping before big events. That's normal, right? That's normal. Withdrawal from friends, family, or activities once enjoyed. Now you're starting to lean towards a mental health concern. Temporary irritability or frustration. We all feel that, right? It's normal. You get irritable, you're frustrated. You turn on the TV, I get frustrated. But significant changes in sleep or too much or too little, that can start to be a mental health concern. And so as we're talking about, right, TV. Like, I know I do this sometimes. So I know I can't lie because my husband is right there. But I think we really should just take note. Like, if you know that the news triggers you at 11 o'clock, don't watch it. Tony. I'm not trying to cause marital spats here. But I'm just saying that's just a practical. If the news, like, and some people can watch, like my mom, I don't know, it's not recorded. If my mom, she watches the news at 6, 7, 9, 10, and sleep like a baby. Like a baby. I'm like, Mom, did you just see that somebody got shot? And she was like, Me? Not so much. Like, I have to like either turn it or like get on my computer and start doing something else because I just can't handle it, right? Everyday stress, brief dips in motivation or energy, ongoing difficulty concentrating or making decisions, that could be a mental health concern. And then the last one I'll just say, everyday stress is feeling better once the stressor passes. So there could be like a deadline at work. And once it passes, you're like, I'm good, right? However, if you start to feel overwhelmed most of the time, even when the stressor is gone, then that could be, a concern. And then the other thing that I'm seeing a lot is reliance on alcohol and substances. And so I travel for work and do different things, and I know that sometimes they're like, oh gosh, there's Dr. Anderson watching us drink. And I'm like, no, I'm not watching you drink. But I'm just seeing it a lot more. Like, people are they're just, and I'm just calming my nerves. And that's good. I'm not up here condoning, glass of wine or whatever. I'm not condoning that. But when you have to take it every night. You need it every night, right? And I don't know if anybody used to watch Scandal. Maybe I'm telling them myself. But Olivia Pope, every night she was like drinking a glass of wine. I'm like, okay, Olivia, like, I know the White House is stressful, but come on. But if you start to see like you can't like relax or go to sleep without it, that's something that we need to take a look at. All right, so faith, mental health, and faith. So I broke this slide down to two parts. So I want to talk about faith. Faith is a source of strength. And I know many of us have that in church. And so I thank God for our faith. I thank God for, a Bible, for Jesus. Listen, right? Faith communities can provide hope, belonging, and encouragement during difficult times, right? Spiritual practices like prayer, meditation, and scripture reading can reduce stress and improve emotional resilience. And being a part of a church family is very good for your mental health because it's a support network, right? Faith is not, I'm going to say it again, faith is not a substitute for professional help. So I definitely, you gave me the mic, Sharon, so I'm about to talk. Right, I see, it's sometimes, especially in church, they're like, oh, just pray it away. You can just pray. And I'm like, oh, okay, right? But like if you got a severe cut on your arm, are you going to just pray it away? If you had surgery, do you need anesthesia? Right? So, and I've seen it so much. And while prayer and faith are powerful, they do not replace the counseling, therapy, or medical care when it is needed. Right? And just as we pray and go to the doctor, we need to pray and seek therapy. We need to pray and take that medication. If that's what your doctor is telling you to take the medication. Right? Like, you got to do what you got to do to stay healthy and to stay well. Don't just stay there and be like, I've also heard like, oh yeah, this mental health thing, it's a new thing. I'm like, where you been? Right? Yes, it's being talked about more, which I am super grateful for, but it's not a new thing, right? And then people will say, there's so much stigma in our community that it's very scary. And I'm going to just tell you this, in other communities, they run into the therapist. They run into the doctor. They're paying for it out of pocket. Okay? Because they prioritize their well-being and their wholeness. So I'm just going to leave that there, right? So the last thing is break the stigma in faith communities. Some people feel shame in seeking help, fearing that their faith may be considered too weak. So they think, oh man, I need to go see a therapist. And they don't say nothing because they're afraid I don't want Sharon talking about me because I got to go see a therapist. we love Sharon, but you got to take care of yourself, right? Like, you're not being seen as weak, right? And you could play a vital role of breaking stigma by openly talking about it. You talk about, like, if I have a heart, you best believe I'm like, Carissa, my heart been hurting lately, right? I've been feeling something in my heart. And I should be able to, Carissa, I've been feeling kind of depressed lately. I should be able to have the same conversation with her, right? So faith, so here's the myth. If I pray enough, I'll be fine. I'm just going to pray about it and I'll be fine. And I'm not, please don't hear me when I say I'm not discounting prayer, because I pray every day. You will be fine, but it both can be true. Prayer is powerful, and God provides resources such as doctors and counselors, right? And so he says here, example, someone prays for healing and also takes insulin if they have diabetes. Mental health should not be treated any differently. So I just really want to empower us and just say, like say the things, right? And if you need help and resources, that's why we're here. That's why we're having this conversation. And I want to read you a scripture since we're talking about faith. In James 2:16-18, it says, if one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm and well fed, but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. But someone will say, you have faith and I have deeds. Show me your faith without deeds, and I will show you my faith by my deeds. It works hand in hand. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Paula. I appreciate that. And one thing I just wanted to add is, don't wait until you're at a scale of 0 to 10 in terms of seeking help, in terms of like symptoms and how severely you're feeling them. Don't wait till you're at 8, a 9, or a 10. I'm encouraging you to go at a 3. Go if you're noticing you're starting to feel a little of some of these things that we've talked about, and you know that you need a little extra support. Go and seek counseling. And I have had people come and they've met with me, and we've determined, okay, you can use some tools, but you don't need therapy, right? So you don't have to decide, do I need therapy or don't I, right? Like, you can go to the professional and they'll let you know, actually, I think you do fine with a couple of these skills and a coping, a support group, or yes, we need therapy. Let's move forward. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you. And the biblical perspective of our minds, bodies, and spirit. Sometimes when we talk about mental health, we wonder, does the Bible even talk about it? Does God even address it in his word? But the Bible gives us a great framework for addressing our mind, bodies, and our spirits, our souls. And I wanted to share Romans 12, verse 2, which says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Notice that God cares about the renewing of our minds. He cares about it, right? Mental health and spiritual health is not separate. It's together. And I just would encourage you to think about your mind. How's your mindset been? What's been going on in there, right? Does it need renewal? And if so, take time to learn how to renew your mind, right? In 1 Corinthians 6, verse 19 through 20, it says, do you not know that your bodies are the temples of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. And here is just a reminder that our bodies are the temples of the Holy Spirit, and that we should care for our physical bodies, right? With rest, with a lot of the things we do for our physical bodies help our mental health as well, right? Rest, proper nutrition. Stop exchanging sleep for getting things done and supposedly being more productive. Just taking care of our physical bodies it honors God as well. And the third scripture that I just wanted to share is 3 John 1, verse 2, where it says, dear friend, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well. And I just think the scripture is really good about holistic health, right? The picture of holistic well-being, our minds, our emotions, our bodies, our physical health, all flourishing together. Because as Christians, we want to move away from feeling like we're just surviving. We're out here in the streets surviving, and sometimes it's like that, right? Sometimes we have to do that, but let's move into learning how to take care of our mental health, our physical health, our spiritual health, so that we can thrive. That's what God wants for us, to thrive, to be good stewards, right? And I'll say this, self-care is not selfish. I'm sure you've heard that before, but I'm going to say it again. Self-care is not selfish, so taking the time to invest in our bodies is what I believe God wants for us, And so we just wanted to share that. And now we're going to move on to seeking professional help, right? What are the signs? And I think if you were to think about all of the symptoms that we talked about before, as well as the slide that Paula just did about what might be mental health concerns, if you're experiencing any of those in an intense way or frequently, we would encourage you to go and seek some professional help, right? In addition to that, if you're having persistent, overwhelming emotions, sometimes you may have these emotions that are just hard to control, whether it's the sadness or the worry. If you're finding yourself just pulling away, withdrawing from people, not spending time with people, that's a good indicator as well. Any big changes to your sleep, to your appetite, it might be, if you've ruled out any physical health concerns, it may be a mental health concern that you should seek professional help with. Sometimes what brings people into therapy is challenges in their daily life, having difficulty focusing, not being able to keep up with work, finding out that they're getting kind of in trouble with their bosses because they can't keep up with work, and they come into therapy. I don't know what's going on, what's happening. And so I think that's a good thing for you to do as well if you're noticing that. And as Paula indicated, if you're using any risky coping skills, alcohol or drugs. And then urgent warning signs are if you are having thoughts of self-harm, and so not just thoughts, but if you're doing self-harm. So that may look like self-harm is the intention to injure your body without the intention to die. And so that might look like cutting small cuts. I've seen where people smack or hit themselves. So that's where self-harm may be an indicator. And then these thoughts of suicide, which can show up in sneaky ways, right? So that can show up as, I don't know why this bridge analogy is always in my head, but if you're driving over a bridge and someone is feeling like, well, what if I took my car over the bridge? People have these thoughts, right? If I wasn't here, I'd be better off. The world would be better if I'm not here. These are some suicidal ideation that might be considered passive, but they are urgent red flags for you to seek help or to seek help for someone that you love. And another one is if you're hearing voices or someone is hearing voices that aren't their own in their heads, that can be it. Or if they're seeing things that other people don't see, that can also be a sign of needing some professional help as well. And from a Christian perspective, if you're noticing like you've been praying and praying and praying and you just have no relief in prayer, you feel like there's no relief, no connection to God. If you're finding that you have a loss of joy in your worship activities, things you used to love to just sing to the Lord and coming to church and small groups, all of those things, that could be a sign of a mental health concern as well. And if you're withdrawing from the body of Christ, sometimes we might think that that's just spiritual health, but it actually may be your mental health that might be pulling us away from meeting with the body. And then it's just an overall feeling of hopelessness and despair, feeling like God has abandoned you. There are some excellent Christian counselors that are out there that can really help you to navigate like some of the spiritual difficulties that you have that might be causing emotional stress. And so those are some of the signs and symptoms that maybe you might want to seek professional help. And now we're just going to talk about what types of professional help there are. There's therapy, right, which is you can have individual therapy where you and the therapist meet individually. There's marriage counseling, which I highly recommend if you're having an internal struggle, like something between you and your spouse that is affecting your overall just well-being, or if there's an external stressor where you're dealing with something that maybe you two are good, but there's something on the outside that's causing trouble in your marriage. That might be a good way of going to marriage therapy. There's also support groups. So there's support groups are peer-oriented, meaning like the people who come to the group are there to help each other cope with a common issue, whether it's step parenting, step family, drugs, alcohol use. And then therapy groups are led by a licensed clinician, and they will treat the mental health condition in a group setting. There's psychiatry, and so that's where you can meet with a psychiatrist is a medical doctor who specializes in the study of the mind and also in psychiatry, and there's psychiatric nurse practitioners who you can go to determine whether you have a need for a medication to treat the mental health concern that you're dealing with. And so those are the types of help. Where you can seek help, I encourage everyone to write down this website, www.psychologytoday.com. I think Paula and I, probably Opal and Lisa, use that as well. Like whenever anybody's like, I can't find a therapist, I say, go to psychologytoday.com. You click what type of issues that you have that you'd like to work on in therapy. You type what type of insurance you have and your zip code, and then it'll populate a whole list of therapists. And some psychiatrists are on there now as well that you can seek proper help there. Insurance company directories can be helpful, as well as a primary care physician referral. And then a good friend. If you know a good friend is in therapy, you see, oh my gosh, they're doing great, like they're feeling better. So who are you seeing? Can I get their number? Right? So I think that would be a good resource as well. And now this is the part that I'm excited about, is talking about what the first session looks like in therapy. If you're coming to therapy, we wanted to demystify what therapy looks like. And so when you come in, the therapist will introduce him or herself and tell you a little bit about therapy, as well as the confidentiality that you have in therapy. So everything that you share is confidential when you come into therapy. So if Paula came in, if I were in therapy and she called and she was like, Carissa's in therapy, what is she saying about me? She calls my therapist. The therapist would say, I'm sorry, I can't confirm or deny whether Carissa is her client. So they can't even tell your mom, your sister, whoever. Exactly. Who's Carissa? Exactly. Right. And so that's one good thing about confidentiality in therapy settings. And then telling your story, what they'll ask you is, what brings you in? Why are you seeking counseling at this time? Who do you live with? What's your marital status? What's your life like? Where do you work? What was your childhood like? Just getting a bigger picture of who you are so that they can help you. And then you'll do some goal setting around what you'd like to accomplish in the therapy, as well as planning for future sessions, right? And so that might look like, how often are you going to meet? Is it going to be once every week, once every 2 weeks? And so, or do you need a referral to a psychiatrist or a psychiatric nurse practitioner? And so that's what the first therapy session looks like. And now, thank you all for listening. I know we tried to give a lot of information. It could be a lot, so I applaud all of you for being here. Now we're going to move into a small, very quick group activity where we're going to ask you to break up into small groups, maybe about, what do you think, Paul, about 5 or 6? Yeah, so as many as you want in a small group setting. Yeah, just break up. And then you're going to read the case scenario. It's a very short case scenario. And then please try to answer some of the questions. I know you may not get to all 4 of the questions, but if you can answer the questions, and then choose a spokesperson to share any insights that you had from your group. So if you guys could just turn or stand up, whichever works for you, and read the scenario. Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. So you guys could turn, like, it can stay in the areas that you are. All right. So here's the scenario, and we're leaving this up so you guys can use it as a reference. So here's the scenario. Jill is a college student. Well, before I start, does everybody have their groups? Are you in a group? Are you in a group? You're all going to have the same question, so there's no surprises here. Jill is a college student balancing classes, a part-time job, and church activities. She feels nervous before exams, but lately she has been experiencing racing thoughts at night, trouble sleeping, and avoids studying because she fears failure. The discussion questions are, and I know you don't have a paper or pen, so just keep it in your head. Is Jill experiencing normal stress, or are there signs of anxiety that may need attention? What signs suggest this may be more than stress? How could faith and professional support both help Jill? And what red flags would tell you Jill may need professional help? So if you guys can pick one spokesperson from your teams, we may not be able to get to every team, but pick one spokesperson because we want to hear the share out afterwards. So we're going to give you how long? We'll give you 5 minutes. All right. So, how was that? Was good. All right. Can the spokespeople raise their hand for spokesperson of each group? Spokesperson of each group. All right. You can speak loud and proud for your group. Represent. Say your name and where you're from. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
She is experiencing some level of anxiety and stress that needs attention brought to it just based off of her symptoms of the racing thoughts, the lack of sleep, and the lack of desire or fear around failure and wanting to study. Just I would assume, being once in college myself, that that's a part of it. And so that would be a major flag for me. What signs, again, just goes back to the racing thoughts, trouble sleeping. How could faith and professional support both help? We discussed that going to scriptures that were based in some of the fears she has, and also reaching out to a professional therapist for coping skills.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thanks, Dawn. All right, who wants to go next? Who wants to rep their group? All right, say your name, your blood type. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
My name is Kamani Phelan. I'm from the best group out here.
Oh, okay, repping your group.
So, me and my crew decided to figure out what's going on. The discussion question, she is experiencing more than just normal stress, and we said it was from, as we said earlier, testing can give you anxiety.
Yep.
And so that's a sign right there. What signs that suggest this is more than just stress? Trouble sleeping, keep her up at night, and avoiding studying because of fearing failure, which is kind of backwards. That doesn't make sense. So she's probably kind of scrambled at the moment. Then we got, could faith and professional support help, both help Jill? And the answer is yes. She could go to her fellow brothers and sisters at her church and see how they can deal with their stressful, their stress.
Yep.
And of course, professional help can always help when it comes to stress.
Yep.
And then what are red flags? Like I mentioned before, trouble sleeping at night and avoiding study because it could be all scrambled. Because we were sitting here thinking, why would you avoid studying if you don't want to fail? But then it could also be overstudying. But that's when you start overthinking, and it's like,
Yep. Yeah.
yeah.
Good job. Thank you. All right, who wants to go next? All right, Jeanette, you got this. Rep your group.
Okay, so we had two wonderful experts with us, and
Yeah, you guys cheated a little. I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you.
so we did go through everything. Do you want me to give the long version or the?
You can give the short version.
Okay.
Whatever you like.
So the short version was that it would be nice to find out what had happened to start this triggering. And because something has come up, because she always felt nervous. But there's a phrase in there that says, but lately. And so what else has been a trigger? And so, yes, both professional and faith help is needed. But yes, we also thought that the but lately part might be the red flag that means she needs professional help.
Okay. Nice. All right, the group in the back. I see a group in the back.
I got voluntold. I just came for the food and the sleep. So
Your name, sir?
Eric Henderson from Bougie Bowie in gorgeous Prince George's. Thank you. I have an honorary doctorate by osmosis. But anyway, for us, to keep things very brief, for us, we looked at the red flags being the racing thoughts, because everything else in a normal context is normal. School is stressful.
Yep.
You know, you can lose sleep and obsess about, fear of failure. Most physicians and doctorates and all those folks go through those normal things. But the racing, the avoidance and the racing thoughts were really the defining characteristics for us. And then obviously the professional help could be sought. I was overruled. I said, just Xanax. Go on. And my dear friends and colleagues said, maybe we should start with talk therapy here. I was like, anyway, all jokes aside, obviously we have the most spiritual group in the room, of course. And they said, prayer and saying Bible affirmations out loud can help level set.
That's helpful.
So.
Good job. Did we miss anybody? Did we miss any groups? Come on, Flo. Come on, rep your group. Oh, there's one more. Two more.
We had a small group, but there's definitely some signs of that may be more than just regular stress due to the fact that she's not really sleeping, and then definitely things like professional help and faith can kind of help her just kind of bring some clarity, hopefully.
Yeah.
And just help her organize.
Yep.
And the sleeping was probably like the red flag.
Okay. All right. Flo, I'm gonna make this a little harder for you. Is there anything that your group said that's different than what other people said?
Yeah, I'm Florence Druid.
Woohoo! Hey, Flo.
So, some of the things that we thought about was, of course, what was the root issue?
Yep.
What caused it, as well as, the racing thoughts, and if she's not studying, she's gonna fulfill what she's fearing.
Exactly.
I thought about having groups like this where they can discuss amongst themselves. Like she needs those type of groups faithfully, as well as counseling that can give her tools that she would use to help her to navigate what she's feeling when she is alone.
Yeah.
The red flags are definitely those symptoms. And did I miss anything, y'all?
Miss one thing. What caught my attention was the group, but you still caught my attention. Right. But what caught my attention, right, and Laura has always checked me on this, and that's balancing. This young lady is in college. She's at part-time work, got church activities. She got a full plate. Yeah. And you women are good at taking on a full plate, right? And I commend you for that. But she has a full plate, and then the secret word, which my sister said over there, but lately. So she only took it for a minute. Then lately, she's having all these issues, just like the rest of us.
All right. Thank you, Tony. Yeah. I have nothing else to say here. You guys have done an amazing, amazing job, which means that Carissa and I have done our jobs well. All right. So we're going to have like maybe a couple minutes, because I'm looking at the time, of Q&A if you have any questions. But I'd just like to recap, right? So mental health matters, right? We got to debunk the myths and the stigmas, right? So if you hear someone's talking not right, now you're educated, and that faith and therapy are aligned, right? So what we'd like you to do before the Q&A, you can do this. This is going to be homework, because therapists like to give homework. Did y'all know that? We give homework. So if you want to put it in your phones, we want you to write one takeaway from today and one action step. And you guys can share it when you see each other next Sunday. That would be a great conversation starter. What's your one takeaway from today's lesson or today's session, and one action step that you are going to take personally? Not your husband, not your children, not your coworker, but you. Okay? But does anybody have a burning question? We can take maybe two.
At what point does an individual create an environment of stress? And the contributing factors to what we were just discussing about having your plate already full. A lot of times our plates are full and we do it ourselves. In other words, we take on more than we can chew. And as a result of that, it under the guise that it has to be done, but in reality it's something you're doing because you want to. And the stressors that are involved with that affects everyone else around you.
Man, how much time you got? Good.
No, that was a great question and comment, right? Because I think about the fact that we like to overload our plates. I was just talking to someone about this actually. Like a Thanksgiving plate. Like if you think about a blank Thanksgiving plate and how it's so full and there's like everything on top of there and you piled it up and then you still see the sweet potatoes, the candy yams, and you're like, but I want that. I'm going to just pile that on top of my plate. Yeah, and then you feel sick. You feel like it's just too much. How am I going to even start? And so one of the things I would encourage you to do is before you take on a new stressor that you can choose. Some of them are thrown at us, man. Those are the ones that are the hardest, the new stressors that are thrown at us. But if you're taking on a new stressor, a new responsibility, look at your plate. What's on there already? Like, what are you doing? Is there something we can take off of there? Is there something we can hand to someone else? You know, and then try to make it, like Tony said, how to balance our lives, right? Like, and how we can do that. So I think it's important to take an assessment before taking on a new responsibility. And even when you're taking on a new responsibility, I don't know how many years of my life, I was this person that I just took it on. And then I was supposed to do everything and not think about, okay, what part of this can I take? And then what can my friend help me with? You know, so asking and seeking support, I think is important as well, utilizing our support systems. And then the last thing is if you're going through something like Paula was talking about with the episodic stress, I think she was talking about, but if you're going through like a caregiving situation, something that really is going to take up a vast majority of your time, you may have to step down from a few things to make space for that. That is so hard to do because it challenges our view of ourselves. You know, like if we get a promotion for a job and we turn it down because we know that it's going to cost us too much, that sometimes makes us feel, but I'm not supposed to do that. Like I'm supposed to aim for the pie in the sky or whatever. So those, just taking a good assessment and choosing what you're putting on your plate. I don't know if you have something else.
No, that's excellent. Nope. One thing I'll add is just talk to the people around you as well. Like just get some, because it's easy to take on a lot and not hear what other people are saying, but also just use your support network. And so, like I said earlier, your church, like build relationships here because this group right here is everything, right? This village is amazing. So talk to your friends as well. I would say that. We have one more question. Go ahead. I want you to say that loud. So hold on. Look at my husband. He's going to bring you the microphone.
I said the important thing is just really learning how to say no. And no means pausing to determine, okay, can this be a yes? And to what capacity can this be a yes in my life? Because it could be the same. It could be yes and okay for somebody else, but not okay for me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. All right, do we have one more question? Marvin?
I was a little shy to ask this question because I don't know if it pertains to anybody in here, but have in the field and you guys field noticed the increase of mental illnesses in the Ward 7, Ward 8 populations that have an inequity of services because of the politics of school. Everything is a blanket.
That's a good question. I don't, like, my practice is in Maryland, so I don't serve people in DC. But I would say even in gorgeous Prince George's, right, I can speak for here, there's definitely an uptick in people seeking more mental health services, which I appreciate because people are seeing the need for it. But I would imagine in DC it's the same thing because of the systemic iniquities that are going on. But people, and I would just see even people of color, right, are really starting to see their need for therapy because of the way that we have been many years, right? But especially, right now, people are just seeing like, look, I can't, I give up, right? I'm tapping out. I need to talk to someone. So I am seeing that. I see a hand. And then, oh my God. I think I started something. I'm just going to say, if we answer more questions, we go beyond 2:15. I'm not going. Don't be mad at me.
I just
just want to be able to address Marvin here.
Yeah.
There is uptick, of
Yeah.
course. And the sad thing is, right now, there's been so many cuts within our within funding.
Yep.
You know, I know for myself being able to work with a nonprofit and specifically working with the schools in DC.
Yeah.
And so now, even more so, not a lot of those resources are not available.
That's right. That's right.
And so a lot of those resources that were available to address some of these social and emotional
Yep.
issues in the
Yep.
school
Yep.
were being serviced by a lot of nonprofits.
That's right.
And so now
Their
that
funding
funding's
is
being
cut.
cut, there's not a lot more, those resources are not going to those communities. So I know there are people within the community still are trying to do the work with little resources, but that is the issue that we got to continue to pray, and we're grateful for those who are in kind doing that additional work. But that's the truth to be told.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great question, Marvin. Thanks for asking. And Sharon, thank you for that response. For time,
Something else I thought about.
yeah, no, go ahead.
You know how you were able to have people raise their hands, you know, to show us it's not shame, it's to show that
That's
you're
right.
not alone.
That's right.
Because when you feel like you're alone, that's when things shut down and becomes really big.
Yeah.
But when you realize this person is experiencing it, this person,
That's right.
it becomes like, oh, I can manage this. This is possible. Let me see what they did. So thank you. And because we don't have resources, they're being cut across the board.
Yeah.
Having small groups like this,
Yep.
when you talk to your kids, instead of you're not supposed to do this or you should be doing that, is let me think about the stress that they might be undergoing
Yes.
in this culture that we're dealing with right now.
Yes. Thank you, Flo. No, I appreciate that. All right. So we did say we're going to leave you all with something. So we have, we are in a QR code season, y'all. So if you can take out your phones and scan that. And so what this is, Carissa and I have come up with resources for everyone in the room that address crisis, immediate help, therapy and counseling, self-help and wellness tools, support groups, and then websites where you can learn more about mental health. And so Chris is making me do this because I didn't want to, but I do own a therapy practice. Sharon, I wasn't going to do this, but we are accepting new clients. So if you know anyone that needs that services, and Lisa, if you have if your practice is accepting clients, please share that as well, and Opal as well. All four of us have therapeutic practices that you can we're accepting clients. Not Carissa. Carissa's like, I am closed. But I'm not, but my practice is. But just want you to know that there's resources even here, right? There's resources amongst us where we have practices where we could see people to deal with and address mental health concerns. Oh, okay.
Are you all like practices take insurance, or
No, that's
is
a
it
great-
just self-pay?
Yes, just self. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right, I'm being silly now. I'm tired, y'all. No, yeah. So for us, we take Care First and Maryland Medicaid. So Maryland Medicaid still does exist, and so we take those two, and we take self-pay. But those are the two insurances that we do take. And I don't know, Lisa, what do you guys take? Lisa does not take insurance. Okay. And Opal, what do you take? Wait. Aetna, Cigna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and what else? And that's no Medicare. Okay. All right. So that's Opal's practice. And then the other thing I wanted to say to speak to Sharon's point is that, that a lot of funding is being cut. There's in Maryland, I don't know if they do this in DC as well, but there's a organization called Pro Bono Counseling of Maryland, where you can literally go and see a licensed professional counselor for free. It's pro bono. These therapists have volunteered their time to see clients at no cost. So that's another resource for you as well. Go ahead, Romaine.
Doing the workshop thing.
Yeah.
But I was just gonna say on a more consistent basis, and again, thank you for doing this. And you guys are super busy, but for those of us that have families that may need like this resource, and again, want it to be faith-based, is there, you know, like how we always have a little group here, you know, like our fuse for the young, you know, married, single.
Okay.
Is there
I can't hear.
Is there something that you guys are gonna, our church is gonna have as a support system for us? Support group,
like a support group at church? Is that what you're asking to start for you? You want me to start that?
Yes,
for you?
please. I mean, because it's great. I appreciate the workshop.
I hear
you know
you.
what I
I
mean?
hear
But
you.
instead of once a year thing, sorry, Sharon. You know, this was a great idea. You know, because like you said, more people are talking about it. When I was growing up, me and Abu, he could tell you, we have to just suck it up and move on.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
but
me
our
too.
kids are like dealing with stuff, and then they feel like they're that only person outside of their whole group that's feeling like that. They may withdraw from being involved. You know.
Yeah. No.
So just
no. Thanks
asking
for bringing
will
that
there.
to. Yeah. No. I appreciate you bringing that to the forefront. So we'll see what God does. I'm happy you're seeing because I'm like ready to turn to.
This is an observation that I've had, and I'm curious if it's just me, but I remember many years ago in my primary care visits when they would ask those questions, and I was like so bummed. I'm like, why are they asking me? I don't have any mental health issues. So back then it didn't make sense to me, but I know all my physicians, every visit, I'm in virtual physical therapy, and it's like they ask those questions more than any other question. And I don't know if any of us, for me, the answer is always no. But I don't know if we get those questions also, if other people see that, and if we'll be honest. And then if you're honest, do they follow up? Because, you know, so that's an observation, and I was just curious.
Yeah, no, that's good that they're supposed to do that, right? Because they're checking for the well-being of just not just your physical, but your mental health as well. And I would think that they would just give you resources even within their network or other networks. So yeah, it's.
Doctors will refer them, like you said, to a therapist or a psychiatrist based upon those screenings. I'm thanking God for those screening forms. I think they just heighten your awareness. So thank God for those.
Yeah. I was just going to say for the mental health resources, at the bottom of it, it does ask if you can give like a testimonial or just your idea, like what you thought of this workshop today. So if you can fill that out as well and submit, that would be super helpful for us. And so I'm just going to turn to the last slide and say thank you all for coming. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Round of applause. And this is the first of a 3-part series. The next one will be October 19th with yours truly, Sharon and Maria Tichu on church health, right, and wellness. And then November 2nd, those 2 experts in the back, Dr. Lisa and Opal, will be doing one on children and adolescent mental health. So please come back. Thank you guys so much.